Hey Emma,
Hey, Allison.
how are you?
Good, good. Busy, tired, toddler, mom, all the things, but so good.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk with you today. Everyone, this is Emma. She is one of my previous doula clients from Portland, Oregon, and I have been just dying to talk to you about everything that happened 18 months ago and just wanted just to jump right in on all the things.
Trip.
Want to hear your story. Um, so yeah, you can start maybe like, who are you? Like,
Yeah.
how did we all meet? Like, what happened with all that?
So my name's Emma. I still live in Portland, Oregon. My daughter Rosemary, is 18 months old somehow. My husband and I had a tricky time getting pregnant, and we eventually landed on, when we did get pregnant, we landed on a birth center, which we loved, Alma, just like the best, most magical place ever. And our midwife strongly recommended a doula and said,
Mhm.
listen, if you're going to work with anybody, go through birth first. Go through birth first. Doulas, they have a few, and she named you by name. She was like,
No.
Allison is great. You might really like her. She's worked here a bunch. And so we got a couple of recommendations. And I was really on the fence at first. I was like, well, I don't need a doula. I know so many things about birth. I've read so many books.
Uh-huh.
Famous last words. So then I start doing research on doulas. My husband was also like, gosh, we're paying for a lot. Should we really pay for another thing? And I'm like, if the midwife suggests it, we've only really heard and experienced from family and friends hospital births. We've never experienced or heard about even a birth center. So let's just, if we can find someone to like help us through the process, let's do it. And just before we started recording, you said hi to my husband really quick. And it was this total full circle moment of like ours being on our first Zoom call. I sent emails to Birth First and they were like, yes, let's get you set with Allison. And it was like this, oh, should we, shouldn't we? It was like this thing back and forth. And by the end of the call, we were like foaming at the mouth, like, oh my God, we have to have this doula.
Oh my God. You
And
make me blush.
well, you're the best. You should be blushing. You're the best. Um, Yeah, it just was really like, I really felt divinely guided my whole conception, doula, pregnancy. Like I felt really, I just felt like called, if that makes sense. Not in a religious sense, but in a soul sense, right? Of like, oh, this feels right. Oh, this feels right. Oh, this feels right. And I just kind of kept chasing that feeling. And you were right along the way. So, like, it was always meant to be.
Oh, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Thank you for saying all of that. I was really like, from the moment I met you, I was like, I've been telling you like, oh my gosh, like you know so much. You taught me so much, like me being a doula, because you had done all this research and you knew so many things. And so our whole journey, I felt like we were just like learning from each other. And it was an incredible just relationship that just evolved into a beautiful friendship. And I'm just so happy that we kept in touch and that through all these transitions that we've been able to still somewhat keep in touch. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm just dying to hear just how was it though? Like, what, let's say, okay, so you went through the birth center, you hired me. How was pregnancy for you with your little Rosie? Anything?
Well, I think I think time has blurred a lot of the edges. Excuse me. It's that like I felt like this like holy vessel, like this sparkly, glowy, like otherworldly thing just moving through everyday life. And maybe you can understand part of that, with your own experience, but you feel like at least I did. I felt like I was doing the most important thing that any person could ever do ever. and I'm just like walking among mere mortals. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just be at your computer and like building a lung. Um, you know, it's just
Yeah.
the craziest. I felt so confident and I felt really important because what I was doing felt really important, and I think I had that like reverence for it too, because it took us a while to get pregnant. We had a couple miscarriages. I have PCOS. So once we finally got to that point of like we got pregnant, we got everything set with the birth center, and we made it through the first ultrasound at, I think I made them do it early. I did it at like 6.5, 7 weeks. um Once it was like all systems go, it was like, yeah, okay, this is what's supposed to be happening. Everything felt really just, yeah, just very it was like somebody sprinkled fairy dust on everything. It just
Wow.
was like, and I know that's not the case for everybody. And I also, like I said, I think time has blurred the edges. I can't forget to mention that I was sick majority of my pregnancy.
With the fairy dust.
With very bad, yes. I was so sick.
Oh.
I was so sick. I lost weight my first trimester. They were really worried going into my second, but it was like overnight, second trimester hit, and I was fine and could eat again and stayed hydrated and gained weight and was able to be more active. I had more energy. And then the third trimester hit, and I kind of started getting sick again. Kind of was like, oh, okay, I'm pretty uncomfortable. But um, I think I did acupuncture and chiropractic my whole pregnancy.
Oh, wow. Did you see benefits with that like right away, or how was that helping?
Major benefits. Especially so for chiropractic, I didn't have any chiropractic work done my first trimester.
Mm.
I didn't have any done, but I did go see my chiropractors. I saw she was a massage therapist who did cranial sacral massage. And that was really special and empowering because she wasn't massaging my body. There was no risk to my baby, and no risk for like potentially starting it. You know, there was no real risk for it other than just a cranial sacral massage, but it allowed my body the chance to like relax fully. You know, I think you get pregnant and your body knows that, and so you're like go 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 even when you're sleeping. And so to have a moment to just lay there, this is for me. I mean, she's literally just working on my neck, shoulders, and head and my scalp. So to have someone focus all that energy on you and have your body kind of give a deep sigh was really, really beneficial, especially when I was so stressed first trimester. We had family stuff going on, and you're newly pregnant. And I just wanted this baby to stick around. And
Mm.
so having the release of cranial sacral was beneficial. And then for acupuncture, I had started acupuncture a year before we got pregnant, used it to help with conception. There's a lot of different points that are like little stick the baby. I meant stick baby stick, like sticky baby
Yeah.
conception type. There's a lot of points that help with trying to conceive. And then there were a lot of points that helped with like blood flow to my uterus, things like that you just don't really think about when you think acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that, and I continued my whole like year before we got pregnant all the way through until I had my last appointment at like 36 weeks pregnant. And I saw
Oh.
the same woman. I saw Kelly the whole time. She was magical, so wonderful.
Wow.
So I really, really think that whatever level of body work you have access to, I was very privileged in having health insurance. And so a lot of it was paid for by my insurance. But whatever you can, even if it's just like meditation in the bath,
Mm-hmm.
do like hypnobirthing or something, one of those soundtracks.
I remember you always sending like updates when you were doing your bath and your meditations. I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
such a dream. And I have no tub. And I'm like, oh, but I'm still trying to find like that time for that mental prep because like it's so important just for that stillness and being in it. Being pregnant now, I really could be better at that. For sure. So you're an inspiration when it comes to that, taking care of yourself, showing
Thank
up for
you.
yourself. Because if
Well,
any now, yeah.
yeah, I thank you for saying that. Um I think anything you can do to just create, and I got really nerdy with it. I did a lot of reading and listening to podcasts and TED Talks, and I did a master class on sleep and like all of these kinds of things that I just wanted to like really understand. And so looking at like right now, we're in alpha brain, we're awake and we're aware and we're conscious and we're talking, we're in control of our bodies. And then there's the theta brain that you can switch, or beta brain you can switch into, where you're like almost asleep but you're still aware of your surroundings. Then
Mhm.
there's theta brain where you're technically awake but your brain has left the building.
Yes.
Your body is sitting there but you are like out
Hmm.
elsewhere. And
Hmm.
it's a really magical place to be. And I found practicing being in theta brain helped so much with not receiving pain medication during labor, because
Wow.
I was already like practiced. I think the fear, a lot of having been through it at least myself once, I think a lot of the fear that people run into in doing unmedicated labor um actually comes from within.
Hmm.
And so practicing going within yourself and creating that safer space within yourself, I think can make all the difference when you are doing an unmedicated labor, because you're in so much pain that you literally are like, you either scramble outside of yourself for someone to help you, or the other option is to go within. And I went within. I went deep
Oh
in
yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
You
Oh
saw
yeah.
you saw me
I
leave the room.
saw. I
And
saw
then
some stuff. Oh.
you know, do you remember? Do you remember like I think it was like 6 or 7 minutes after Rosie was born, I came back to my body and everyone in the room was like,
Uh-huh.
"Are you
Yeah.
okay? Are you good?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I just got back. I'm here now."
Yeah. But it's a talent. Like I can't say that I can consciously do that. And I know like yoga nidra and like there's all these different types of things that can really help you get into that different state. And I've been really bad at that, Emma. Like there's been so much going on. I really am like, okay, I'm almost 35 weeks and I should really be
Got
doing
time. You've
so
got time. You've got time. I
oh,
promise. You've got time if you want to do it. And if you don't, like maybe, because that's the thing, maybe that's not the right fit for you. Maybe you are, because I was not the primal screaming hands and knees girl. I was the silent go within myself girl. Maybe you're a primal screamer. Maybe you're a lioness and you just got to like roar out of yourself. Maybe that's what it is.
oh my gosh, I love you.
Like I think that's the other thing, is if that doesn't feel natural for people to like really dive within themselves,
Mm.
like I've always been more of that person, right? I've always been like a swimmer, solo sport, go within yourself, horseback riding, go within yourself, yoga, meditation. I've always been very like solo practice kind of
Reader.
person. Reader, exactly, yes. I've always been a really like, I recharge myself in a solitary environment. I need to go by myself, kind of just like take a deep breath and then re-enter the chat.
Yeah.
But that's not everybody. So I think at 35 weeks you have totally enough time to decide, and maybe you try both. Maybe you just see what fits, what feels right.
Mm.
You're
Oh,
intuitive. You
yeah.
know. You just haven't found it yet. You literally, when you find it, it's like a switch is going to go off and you're going to be like, that's it.
I really hope you're right because I'm just like, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm going to be like. It's just, it's also exciting. You've seen hundreds and hundreds of births and you're just like, but how am I going to be? Like, I've seen all of the births that I've witnessed. I've just been like, just being a doula and being in that space with so many people that really do it all so differently. It's just, it's such a spiritual thing to be a part of. And I feel like as a support person, I'm very like, you're so in it, like nothing else exists. You're so present and you're very, I don't know, my heart has just expanded in a way of just helping so many people through this and have learned so much from just witnessing. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey, but it starts hitting you now. You're like, oh, I know I get to do it. We'll see. We'll see which one I am.
Well, and you've seen it all, but you've always also had someone else telling you how to show up for the birth.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might know all the options, but you've never chosen the path.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
So deep. I love it. Oh, well, okay. So now you've done a lot of the intuitive work. You've done a lot of those things. And now you are starting to get into labor. Like, what was that like? How did it all start?
I'm laughing already. I'm laughing already because you know how bonkers that month, 2 months was.
Yeah.
So I finally gave birth at 42 weeks, but leading up to that, we got to the 36-week mark and I went in for my check and they were like, yep, baby's head down. Well, actually, okay, funny side note, we went to make sure baby was head down and the head midwife, Laura at Alma Midwifery, couldn't find her head. Couldn't find the baby's head and was like panicking because she's been doing this for like 40 something years. And it's like, oh my God, this has never happened to me before. And it turns out she wasn't looking low enough.
Yeah.
And that caught her off guard. She was like, your baby's low. You're at like a -1 station at 36 weeks. Do you mind if I do a cervical check? I have to, because she was using the ultrasound to make sure baby was head down and was like, I can't confirm it on our machine. Their machine isn't like the certified, like super, super new. It's just to like see baby's heart rate, see, if baby's head down or head up, like that type of thing. And so she was using the ultrasound and was like, I'm so sorry, but the only way I'm going to be knowing for sure that her head is down, or the baby, because we didn't find out gender. The only way I'll know for sure is if I do a cervical exam. And I was like really against cervical exams. I didn't want any, but the head midwife is telling me this is the only way to confirm. And so I was like, all right, fine. So she checks and she was like, oh, I feel your baby's head. You're like 50% effaced.
Yeah. So insane.
At 30, I think I was 37 weeks at this check, technically.
Mm-hmm.
So she confirms, yep, baby's head down. Oh, you're like 50% effaced. Oh, you're at a -1 station. I'm going to make sure that your midwife, like she was like sending a text to midwife Olivia being like, hey, just FYI, your client who's not even 40 weeks yet is like prepping. Her body's prepping. Olivia was like, okay, great. I talked with Olivia on the phone. I talked with you on the phone. Everybody's like, there's no way we're making it to January 18th, which was the due date. Everybody agreed. There were, because this was like before Christmas. Everyone's like, there's no way. So things progress. I'm walking. I'm doing all the things. We had Christmas, and then there was this like lull between Christmas and New Year's where kind of nothing was happening, but it was still like, okay, body prep, body prep, body prep. I was getting anxious. I was getting like a little in my head, like, oh, this baby's coming earlier. Like we packed our hospital bags way early. We like, she really punked us. she really just pulled the gag of the century with this one. So we got to 40 weeks, we got to her due date. My mom came into town because we were like, baby's coming early for sure. So New Year's passes. My mom comes to visit. My sister's due like 2 weeks after me and is having a C-section. So my mom was like, hey, you got to get this baby out by this date because I got to go to your sister's house and help her birth a baby too. So we had this one random day in January, right around the due date. And I woke up not feeling well, throwing up, just like feeling like my body was starting to purge, which is often a sign, right? You kind of like get rid of everything so that you can refuel, rehydrate, and like jump into action. So I started chilling on the birth ball and having some contractions, and then we were timing them. And so I got in the bath. And you came to we called you and you came to the house. You're like, yeah, I'm hearing her in the background. I think that this might be a go. So you came over and we walked and walked some more. And then I started walking through my contractions and talking through my contractions. And by 2 p.m, we were like, well, pack it up and go home, I guess. So we had the doula, or we had you had gone home and we had one of the midwives come to our house to do a check. I was 80% effaced and dilated to a 2.
Oh my gosh. I remember I mean, just what was going through your mind, like how were you coping with all of this? Because this start and stop, we read about it, prodromal labor, whereas just, the body's prepping but that can last days, hours, or in your case, weeks.
Yeah, I had heard of prodromal labor. It wasn't, and I think something that is misconstrued a lot is that Braxton Hicks is prodromal labor. And that is not the case. Because when I tell this story every now and again to people, who am I kidding? I tell it all the time. It's like my greatest achievement in life. The hardest and greatest thing I've ever done. But I will tell people, like, because they'll say, oh, you were having Braxton Hicks. I'm like, no. I woke up in labor. I labored all day. And by the afternoon, it would fizzle out and I would have dinner and go to sleep and wake up and do it again. It was like waiting on a snow day that would never come. That is what it felt like. It felt like being a little kid staring out the window, waiting for snow. It was and I think that it was a really good lesson for me in lack of control, because I'm a pretty organized. I wouldn't say I'm type A by any means, because I'm so not a perfectionist. But I'm like a pretty put together. I'm a planner. I just am pretty put together, and I know what's coming next, and I know I'm prepared for it, and like I'm a prepper, right? And I wasn't prepared for the total lack of control. I didn't think I knew that prodromal labor could last for weeks, and it totally can, because I lived it now. And I think I wasn't prepared to shock my whole birth team, right? Because you were a level of like, everything's fine. You're doing great. And also, I'm sure on the inside, you were like, oh, this poor woman. Like,
Yeah.
oh no. And that's kind of how everybody was. My midwives were like that. My therapist was like that. He was like, there's no way, you'll be fine. And I think that's what everybody kept saying. So that made it tricky. And I know that I think it's what I needed to hear in the moment, right? You're almost there, to keep going, to keep going. But to have my due date on January 18th and then not give birth to my baby till February. I joke with my husband that it's my fault, because I really didn't want an Aquarius, or I really didn't want a Capricorn baby. I really wanted an Aquarius baby. But that only meant I had to give birth on January 20th or later. Rosie said, watch this.
She totally did. She
She
totally
did.
did.
I mean, we had the couple days of like checking in with you, watching birth videos, walking constantly. And then we got to 40 weeks and it was like, okay, now we have to talk about plan B, C, D, and E. And that's really where my discomfort started coming in the most. That's where my emotional discomfort came in the most was, no, but I'm going to have my water birth at Alma. That's what I'm having. That's what I'm manifesting. That's what I want. That's what I'm having. And as you and I know, that didn't happen. And this is also where I start to get a bit emotional because it was a lot. It was a lot to tackle. It was a lot to, there was a lot of things that happened that were so out of my control that I kind of think I was called inward because all of these things started happening and I could go to my safe place no matter what. Where it didn't matter where I was birthing because I had me. So I think I learned a lot of trust in other people, like in you, and trusting that other people would show up for me. But I think that having the option to go inward was like, okay, no matter what, I've got me. Like I can go inward at any point and nobody can harsh that vibe. Nobody can like rip me out of myself, you know? So started having to go to we started having to go to more checks, right? With the midwife. 40 weeks is like, the placenta's kind of got an expiration date. We don't want you to go past 42, but as long as you're good and the baby's good, we'll let you go up to 42, but then you have to have an induction plan. And I really didn't want any Pitocin. I didn't want to be induced. I didn't want anything. But I also really didn't want the midwives formula. What do they call that drink?
Oh, like the midwife's brew.
Yes. With the castor oil. I really didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
Just
Messy.
for some people it works really well.
Mm.
And for other people, you spend all of your time puking, but then you go into labor. And for one of my best friends, she tried the midwives brew 4 different times. She has 6 kids with number 7 on the way.
Oh my gosh, you're not
Can you
serious.
believe I'm dead serious?
Oh my
If
gosh.
anyone's gonna do it, it's Katie. She's an incredible person. 100% every single birth unmedicated at a birth center.
I can't.
So she did midwives brew 4 times and it made her throw up and have horrible diarrhea and nothing happened. So the idea that I could go through that and it wouldn't work was like, nah, I'm good.
Mm-mm.
So at 41 weeks, at my 40-week checkup with the midwives, they were like, what's your induction plan? And I was like, there isn't one. So we came up with a list of funny ways Frank could get the baby out of me, like having me jump on a trampoline and he would double bounce me and the baby would launch out, or that I would squat in the back of the truck and he would drive over a gravel road. The midwives laughed, but we're like, okay, but be for real. Like, we got to get this baby out of you.
So you.
I don't know. I would go for a trampoline right now. So we did cervical sweeps, which again, I was like, hell no, I don't want anybody up there until the baby is out. And even then, no, thank you. And then I changed my mind. And it was like the best thing that you ever taught me. Like the number one thing, if I could think of something that Allison taught me that I'm like, everybody needs to know this, and that I tell every pregnant person or everyone thinking of having, and just people in general, you can change your mind whenever you want. You don't have to have a reason. You don't have to have backup. You don't have to have, like, literally nothing has to happen for you to change your mind. You could just feel like it. And you don't have to give an explanation. You don't owe anybody any answers. This is about you. Like, you're the star of the show. So let's Just do whatever you want, what feels right in the moment. And by 41 weeks, I was like, get in there.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't even care anymore. It wasn't even like, it wasn't as painful as everybody said it was because my baby was so low that feeling her head bounce between my pelvic bones when I walked was more painful than a cervical sweep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking with my hands and giving great gestures.
I love it.
So we had 3 cervical sweeps over the course of 2 weeks. And then after the cervical, and I was doing like walking stairs at Mount Tabor, which they call Mount Labor. It's a local place in Portland, and stairs up and down, steep hills. And then I was drinking tea and I was going to the witch doctor and I was like doing acupuncture and burning moxa by my little toes. And I literally did absolutely everything short of midwife's brew or a C-section to get this baby going.
Oh my
And
God.
at almost 42 weeks, the midwives were like, "Okay, you have to be induced in like 3 days and we get this baby going. So let's, what do you think about a balloon?" So we did the Foley balloon. That was real painful to put in. To have it inserted and then expanded was whoa, because I was going from a 2 and the balloon gets you to a 5 or a 6.
Mm.
So that was a lot. I almost passed out. I definitely almost threw up. Midwives were great. I got to hang at the birth center. I got to go sit in my birth room for like 30 minutes while I calmed down. It was wonderful. And then went home and literally they were like, go to the bathroom every hour or so and like just tug on the little tube and it'll just fall out eventually. I'm like, oh yeah, it'll just fall out eventually. Okay. And then at like 8 p.m. I went and I didn't even pull on it. I just sat on the toilet and it fell out. I was like, oh, I guess I'm at a 5. So I call. And this is, okay, so this would have been how many days in January? 30?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
31. I don't know.
30? I don't know, all of a sudden. But basically it was like 2 days before February 1st. And they said, I called the midwife and they were like, that's great. And I was like, okay, so I'm coming in right now, right? Like it fell out and I'm going to come in and have my baby. And they were like, you should go to sleep. And if you haven't gone into labor, I mean, I see what they were doing now and I see why, but in the moment, that made me so upset. I remember calling you sobbing and being like, I just want this to go. Oh, I just want to get it out. I'm so tired. I'm hot and it's winter. And like nothing made sense at that point. And I was glad I had developed the ritual of getting in the bath and doing hypnobirthing because that's really what got me through. I hopped in the bath and I did my hypnobirthing. And if I ever got to a point in my pregnancy where I was just crying and didn't make sense, and my husband was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, he'd be like, let me draw the bath for you. I'll just get the bath ready, go do your hypnobirth. Like, that was really beneficial to the very end. And so we went to sleep that night and woke up in the morning and went to the birth center to break my waters because nothing happened overnight. I mean, talk about the snow day that never came. I just went to sleep being like, ooh, tonight's the night. And then waking up to my alarm the next morning sucked. So, and I was still having the prodromal labor. It was just like, my back is sore. I'm like, yeah, my stomach tightens every now and again. And I'm like peeing myself occasionally, but like, meh. Nothing newsworthy, nothing to write home about. Get to the birth center. They give me the largest pair of underwear I've ever seen in my life, fully padded, nice mesh detailing on the sides. And they're like, okay, so we're going to pop your waters. And my midwife comes out with this crochet hook. And I'm like, you're going to what? She goes, we're just going to slide this up. It's going to catch the bag and I'm going to yank. You're going to feel the pull. And then it's just going to like either trickle out or it might be a sploosh or it might not happen. Like, we'll just see. You feel the yank. You sure do. Feel the yank. And so she broke my waters and then was like, all right, sounds great. Check on you later. And you and me and Frank are just looking at each other. And I'm like, now what? Now what do? We just sit and wait more? So you guys got the birth suite ready for us. I was kind of just bopping around, and then it hit like a ton of cement.
Mm-hmm.
We went in at 7 a.m. They broke my waters they broke my waters at like 7:20 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I hopped in the tub. I sat on the toilet. You had me going up and down the stairs, and we did all these things. And then by like the early afternoon, I started getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it kind of never stopped. It was like contraction, throw up, labor shakes, take a couple sips of water, catch my breath, and then start it all over again. And I got to the point where I'd feel the contraction, the next one start to come. And I was starting to go, no, 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 like I can't do another one. No, make it, I got to stop. I was just getting really sick. I was tired. I was super tired. I'd gotten good sleep. It wasn't like a lack of sleep. It wasn't a lack of prep. It was just a lot on my body, I think.
Mm.
So go ahead.
No, so I mean, okay, so she breaks the waters and then you're doing all these things. And yeah, exactly, just like you're saying, it's a lot on the body because there's so much. I mean, you were the most prepped I've ever met, and it's just one of those things you don't know until you're in it of like how you're gonna cope. I mean, from the outward, I mean, I must say, like, yeah, you were starting to get really sick. And I mean, it's really hard to watch someone go through labor, right? Because you just want to just take it all away for them. But I still felt like you were so in yourself in that way of like just you were still coping. You weren't suffering, but
Mhm.
yes, you were getting to that point. So then
Yeah,
was that when we called on.
we called Savan. Yeah, I call her. She's my favorite. I call her the witch doctor because, and she's the most. I mean, you read about like the Oracle of Delphi or something like that. That's how I picture Savan. I picture Savan as like this magical oracle who's been sent from on high, from another universe, to just sprinkle her magic wherever she goes. She's just a really incredible person and mother and woman. And I admire her greatly. I saw her at the end of pregnancy. We called her during labor and she brought her it's the pictures I look back and the video I look back on the most actually from birth is the ones where Savannah's there because that we had the lights going. I had these like really magical water lights that I loved. And Rosie uses them for bath now, which is a trip.
Oh my God.
And Sivan came in and she brought these drums and she was like, I remember her saying, babies love these drums. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, okay, Sivan, babies love the drums. Rosie matched her heartbeat to the beat of the drums. She was getting a little in distress prior to Sivan going, and Sivan arrived, did some acupuncture on me, did some acupressure and massage. And then she started doing this, like, she was like moving my body back and forth, kind of like rocking me. And she had me on my left side and she's rocking me back and forth. And I can feel my baby start to relax. And the drums are going and we're moving. And I've got the gas that you breathe,
Yeah, a nitrous oxide.
yes, that's what it was.
So
Yeah,
trippy.
it was, yeah. So I was doing all these things and I was like, oh, this is gonna work, this is gonna work, this is gonna work. And Sivan is like, this is as much as I can do for you at this point. Take a second. I'm gonna send the midwife in. The midwife comes in, she's like, hey, let's do a check. Like, let's see if we need to get you back in the tub and start like getting closer to pushing, or like we just need to see where we at. And I went from a 5 to a 6
Mm-hmm.
in 12 hours.
Mm. Yeah.
And that sucked. That was like
Mm.
prep. I did all the prep. I did all the things. I did all the things. I did it right. I timed it. I had a doula. I had the midwives. I was at the birth center. My partner's supportive. I'm in a safe place. I went within myself. It was like I went down my checklist just for my body to like set it on fire. Right. And it was really discouraging. I was so disappointed after having a best friend too, who did this so much. It felt like my body was failing me in the moment. That's what it felt like. And I see now that's not the case. You mentioned, you know, you don't know what to bring like to a birth center or a hospital. There's all these like TikTok influencers and Instagram and social media people are like, pack my hospital bag with me. Pack distraction.
Mm-hmm.
That's what nobody says. Pack
Mm-hmm.
distraction. I should have brought a laptop. I should have been watching Twilight. Like I should have been watching, I don't know, like rom-coms, and I should have and it's like shoulda, woulda, coulda. I know now, right? And for my next experience in birth, I will prepare differently. But I was so like leaned into the experience that I kind of never came down adrenaline wise. And I don't know if that got in my way or not. I don't know. It's like I was so focused on going inward that I almost wonder if I got in my own way a little bit. It's like I treated it as this sacred thing, and it is, but you're still a human. You are still like, I felt so godly and I felt so, you know, ethereal and important. And I was all those things and still am, but I forgot that there's still a little girl in there, that there's still someone who like might be a little afraid. And I think I was really in denial of how afraid I was. That's the one thing I really didn't, I don't think I dove into it. And didn't realize how scary it all was, how scared I could get. And so the midwife says I'm at a 6, and I called my best friend and was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Because if I can't, at this point, I'd been throwing up for like 8 hours. At this point, I was dehydrated. At this point, I was tired, and contractions had stopped. It like I shut down. And that sucked. I was really upset about it. And I'm sitting in this birth suite that is like my dream. And I have my dream birth team, and my body won't cooperate. I didn't expect me to be the one to hold anything up. Um, and so we decided to go to the hospital. I heard you saying to me, and I heard the midwife saying, you can change your mind. You can stay here and we'll wait a couple hours and we'll see if it picks up. But you're getting into the area of needing an emergency transfer if we let this go on too much longer. And I didn't want that. I was already scared. I was already upset. I was already frustrated. I really didn't want to have to do an emergency transfer. So I made the call. I kept control, and I made the call, and I made the decision. We're going to go to the hospital that I've been getting extra monitoring at. Since I went to 42 weeks, you have to go in for the non-stress tests, and then they have to do an ultrasound to be sure your baby can breathe and swallow on their own, which Rosie kept failing because she was asleep for all the testing. So I kept having to go back for more. So we transferred to the hospital, and the car ride over was intense. And I screamed at my husband, if you want any more kids, we're adopting. Which is funny because the second Rosie was born and I came back to my body, I said, I want 100 children with you. I want to do this 100 more times. And he was like, you're insane. Stop talking. He was like, stop talking. Stop. Just let's do this for now.
But also just so I just have to tell you, I just admire you so much because it's such a brave call to do that. It takes so much courage to find that. And definitely I think there was that Katie needed to be that person that you called in that moment. Like you knew that was your person to help you navigate that situation as well. And I just thought you were just incredibly brave because, you know, there's no medal at the end. There's not like this song
Oh,
there. So I just, yeah,
oh,
I thought it was, wow, I know that must have been, because I mean, having, you know, gotten to know you over so many months of like, that must have been a really hard decision to make in that moment. And I'm so proud of you.
thank you. Thank you for saying that. It was, I felt really disappointed. I felt really disappointed and just decided, okay, I know some of the nurses at the hospital, I'm just going to make the best of it. And that didn't happen, unfortunately. As you know, the birth story for me didn't end, um, definitely didn't end poorly. My baby was born without major complication, and she was healthy and still is, and we were both fine. But the journey to get there at the hospital was not a pleasant one. For anybody in the future who's watching this, I hope you never experience a hospital the way that I did. We got to the hospital, and the night team that was on was not the most pleasant. You went home for a little while to like regroup and rest. And I mean, we'd been at the birth center for so long. So
I felt
you
like, okay, I'm like 10 minutes away. Do you feel okay?
yeah, we had that talk, and it was the right call, right? We all decided that was the right call, that you go home. And I didn't consider till afterwards that you may carry guilt because of all of that. And I want you to know you shouldn't. We all made that call.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
hope you can like let go of that a little bit. Because the midwife was there, and then after one midwife left, the next midwife came in, and then she was there till I told her she could go. So really, I hope nobody holds any guilt for what happened next. And I feel like I'm building this up, and I don't mean to.
No, but I am glad that you bring it up because of course I do. I do live with so much guilt because a doula shouldn't leave, you know, like it really, I shouldn't have left. Like when I really think back of like that's what you hired me for, you know, was to be there continuously through the entire experience. And for the most, you know, challenging maybe part of your entire experience, I wasn't there. And so of course that was, you know, just looking back at it now, like, yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of regret, but even though I know it was a team decision and everything, it still was, yeah.
I think if we can find power in pain,
Mm,
you know, you I don't regret any. I don't have any regret. I don't have any Allison should have stayed. I don't have any, well, if Allison had been there, it wouldn't have happened. I don't have any of that. That never crossed my mind until I was talking about it to somebody several months ago who
mm.
said, "Oh, your doula left. Do you think she feels guilty for leaving?" And I went, "Oh my God, I had no concept of that. I didn't even think about it." And I hope you don't, because everything turned out okay. And there's part of the story you don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay, tell me.
So, okay. So, and it's a full circle kind of thing at the very end. So we go to the hospital. I am in horrific pain at this point. I'm dilated to a 6, which is full blown active labor. You're in it. You're in it. And I've already been in it for 12 hours plus a month. So the, I said, I want an epidural. Just give me pain meds. That was the plan. I want pain meds so I can sleep. And when I wake up, I'll start pushing.
Mhm.
That was the plan, right? And the nurses didn't listen to me. They had me sign waivers while I was in total writhing pain. They didn't talk to my husband at all. They didn't talk to my midwife at all. They talked to me, which typically I'd be like, hell yeah, you should be talking to me. Not when you work in labor and delivery. So it
Mhm.
turned out that I'd been given 2 student nurses who were being supervised by a nurse who was parked at the nurses station. I never met that nurse that was supervising them. I only met the student nurses who weren't totally students. They were moving into labor and delivery. So they were full-blown nurses who were still learning their jobs as a labor and delivery nurse. And anyone who's worked in the birth world or L&D knows that is a long process. It is unlike any other specialty or department of a hospital setting. They had me sign waivers that said I couldn't eat anything or drink anything. They wanted me clear liquids only, and I absolutely read them to filth in front of an entire room of people and yelled at these nurses and made horrible enemies of them. And then when they left, my midwife was like, "Yes, Emma, yes, you tell them."
So proud of you.
I think
Oh.
I said, "I'll sign your stupid form, but I'm not going to listen to it. If you need me to sign my name, then fine, but I get to do what I want. I'm not." And she was like, "Oh my God, please, I just have to get you to sign the form." Like, and it was for the epidural. It was for an epidural. The anesthesiologist comes in. He was automatically just a jerk. He was not nice, and he kept calling me sweetheart, and he kept telling me to hold still while I'm having contractions, and said, "This will go a lot faster, sweetheart, if you can just hold still."
Oh, don't say
And
that
that
to
was enough. That was enough for me to be like, "I'm sorry, what? What'd you just say to me?" Like, that pulled me out of the contraction
Oh
to
my
be
God.
like, "How did you just speak to me? What did you just say?" And he got the epidural placed, and my husband was so tired at that point that he literally passed out. Like, I couldn't wake him up. He was so tired. Um, and the epidural didn't work. It numbed my arms and it numbed my legs and it numbed like to my nipples, but from like nipples to coochie, nothing. All in my low, I could feel my low back, I could feel my whole abdomen, I could feel my pelvis. He missed the right vertebrae. He didn't count correctly.
Stop.
So, and I could
Did you
tell
have
it
any
was,
trouble breathing like with that? Do you
I
remember any?
didn't have trouble breathing because it was like I could still feel my neck. I could still like, I had sensation, but there was like, you know how when you leave like a weighted blanket on yourself for too long and then you lift it off, you get a little tingly? That's how it felt.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
didn't have trouble breathing. I didn't have any trouble except I was now paralyzed. I couldn't move at all. So, and I can't wake my husband up because he's asleep. I'd sent the midwife home, thought I was all good because my epidural had been placed. What I didn't know was that they gave me 2 doses of fentanyl, which I did not consent to.
Oh my God.
So I was actually, I thought the epidural was working and figured, oh, it's just hitting my arms and legs first. I'd never had an epidural. Nobody explained this to me, and I never planned on getting one. So I didn't prepare for that. I didn't research. I didn't really know how that would feel. I didn't do any research on the hospital stuff because that wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to be me. So I get the epidural and it's kind of not working, but I'm not in tons of pain yet. And turns out that was the fentanyl
Oh.
that they had given me. 2 doses, which really, that's something that stuck with me because Rosie had, she just had a little bit of a hard time coming to. And there was a sense of panic in the room at first that I feel like could have been avoided. I don't know if it was directly related to the fentanyl or not, but it bothered me. It bothered me a lot that that had been done without my consent. Although I was asking for pain medication, I still expected someone to be like, "Hey, this is what we're giving you."
Yeah.
I don't know what they were supposed to give me. I was in labor. I feel like I can't be held totally responsible there, but it did help for a period of time. And then the fentanyl wore off and I couldn't move my body, but I was still contracting.
Mm.
And that's where going within helped and was also hell. It was awful. It was really awful. Um,
Because now you're
but
alone going through this.
now I'm alone in this hospital room and the nurses are coming in to check on me, but they're not talking to me. They were just saying, um, you know, again, work in labor and delivery, and you start to have an understanding of how you need to be around laboring mothers, they kept saying we are losing your baby's heart rate. And I was like, what are you talking about? What they were talking about was that they had the arm cuff, the BP cuff on my arm was not the right size for my arm. I was in between sizes. So the largest one was too big, but the smallest one was too small and wasn't giving them correct BP. So somebody was having to stand there and hold the BP cuff on my arm. And then they decided to tape it on my arm
What?
for a little while because they didn't want to stand there and have to hold it. And the whole time I'm going through contractions and can't move my body, and they weren't talking to me. So the most that I got out of them was, is your contraction over? Is that contraction over?
Mm-mm.
And I was like, yeah. And I'm like breathing and crying and trying, I can't move my arm. So I can't like hold an emesis bag up to throw up. So it's like propped on my shoulder. And I'm like throwing up into that. And my phone is sitting here and I have the BP. And the nurse was like, okay, well, everything looks fine for now. We'll check in a few minutes. And she walked out.
No.
So there was that. And I finally started making a big fuss over the epidural. And it turns out it was misplaced. And the anesthesiologist became abusive with the language he was using. I won't repeat it because it was awful, but he was being very abusive over the nurse comm. So the nurse would call him on speakerphone while she was in the room with me and say he needed to come to 10 whatever to fix my epidural. It's not working. And he was just like, there's nothing I can do for her. Tell her to take a deep breath. She's being dramatic.
No.
And so I told the nurse, he's not allowed back in my room. I want my epidural removed. Take it out. She was like, she started to say, but, and I screamed at her, take it out. And that's when my husband woke up. And I was like I could kind of move my arm at this point. Oh, they had also given me Pitocin without telling me. So she had given me the Pitocin. She came in to check and said, oh, I'm just checking your Pitocin. And I said, I'm not supposed to have Pitocin. I didn't consent to that. And her eyes got really big and she goes, you didn't sign? And I went, no, I signed for my epidural.
Oh my God.
And she like kind of went back to the computer and took a look and came back and just unhooked it and walked out without saying anything.
No.
I'm like, okay, great.
No.
So at this point, I've kicked out 2 nurses and an anesthesiologist from my room. And then the lovely doctor comes in. I had texted you at this point, told you what's going on. You were like, oh my God, I'm on my way.
Mm-hmm.
Hang in there, I'm coming. And my husband is awake and he's like, what is going on? And I filled him in and he was like, why didn't you wake me up? And I just started crying. I was like, I couldn't wake you up. I couldn't do anything. So the doctor comes in and she was like, oh, looks like you're about a 9. It's time to push. I was like, what? What are you talking? I don't want to push yet. I want to use the fetal ejection reflex, which I had done extensive research on. And she said, that's not really going to help you at this point.
Oh.
Okay. So she kind of just like kept telling me why I was wrong every time I told her I wanted to do something a certain way. And then like a breath of fresh air, you swept in and saw the position I was in on my back and you were like, Franklin, grab a leg. We're lifting her up. Like, this is not working. You took such control and charge of that room. I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh.
Oh, it just was so like, oh, okay, everything's going to be fine. Allison's here. She's going to yell at the people for me. She's going to like just deal with all the things. And you did. You got me into a better positions for blood flow and circulation. You helped with gravity. You sat me up so my pelvis wasn't like tilted to the heavens. Like it was the weirdest, like, I'm sorry, you all went through medical training, right? You don't know what you're doing. It was the wildest experience. And then I left my body after that.
Yeah.
I've come in occasionally because we were pushing
Mm.
and I keep hearing mixed, Rosie was born at like 7:20 a.m. So almost exactly 24 hours from breaking my waters at the birth center.
Mm,
I have no clue how long I was actually pushing for.
mm.
I really don't know. So if you know, that'd be cool. I
Mm.
think 2 hours.
I could totally go back to my text messages and see like from the time, because I'm just trying to think now, because when you started pushing, like do you remember like actively pushing, or did you
I
feel?
do. I do remember starting to push, and somebody asked if I wanted the squat bar, if I wanted to like sit up and squat, but I was so tired. I'd been awake for almost 24 hours at that point
Mhm,
and throwing up most of it and
mhm,
laboring. So I was weak. My body was really physically done, and any extra energy I had, I didn't want to use on myself. I wanted it to be for the baby.
mhm,
So it felt like pushing on my back was the right choice for me. And in the end, it was, because I was too tired. I was too tired. And again, I changed my mind there. I didn't want to push on my back.
mhm,
But circumstances change and you kind of just have to flow with it. So I was like, yeah, that wasn't part of the plan, but I'm changing my mind. I'm pushing on my back.
mhm,
Um, and I do remember pushing, and I remember not knowing, like, I worked with my pelvic floor therapist about bearing down and pushing like down and out, but almost like when you hit the base of a water slide. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it
yeah.
kind of like that's the visual she was giving me for like my birth canal and how the head needed to come under the pubis bone. Um, and so I I do remember pushing. I remember giving it all I've got. I remember my husband like pushing on my back. And I remember you being on my other side and like holding my leg and telling me when to push. I remember the doctor counting how long I was supposed to, and I wanted to kick her in the throat. I was like, lady, you gotta shut up. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta stop talking at me. And so
Hey,
I listened to you and I listened to Frank. Frank, I think, was silent. He was like, oh my God, that's a lot happening down there. Because he could see it all. And the doctor would occasionally be like, Dad, do you want to see your baby's hair? And he'd be like, oh no, I'll see it in a minute. Like,
oh my gosh.
and then yeah, I remember the doctor or someone saying, like, we gotta get this baby out. Like you've got to get the baby out. There's like we gotta do this now.
Yeah.
And then at 7 a.m., actually must have been at like 6:50 or 6:55, the doctor comes up from down below where I'm actively pushing up to my head and goes, hey, so we're just gonna do a shift change at 7 a.m. I have to go home because my shift is over. I was like, I don't fucking care.
Like
I think
as if
I
you're
think
in a
I
logical place
I
right
think I
now.
looked at you. Do you remember this? I think I looked at you and said, is she fucking with me? And you were like, no, but it doesn't matter. We're going to keep doing our job. We're going to keep pushing. It's fine. And I was like, okay. And so I told Frank, I go, and again, I had to like come back to my body to convey all this and then leave again. So I
Mhm.
came back to my body. She says the doctor's like, I got to go. My shift is up. Traffic is going to be bad. A new team is coming in, a new team, doctors, nurses, everybody, new team coming in. I'm actively pushing. They said they could see hair, so I'm assuming we're pretty close. And you were like, ignore them, do your job, push your baby out. It's going to be fine. I told my husband, I don't want to meet any new people. I want to push this baby out. I'll see people later. He was like, okay. Met the birth team at the door and was like, hey, everybody, we're going to skip pleasantries. Go ahead and jump into your jobs there. Emma's pushing a baby out.
Mhm.
And thank God he did that. And
Mhm.
you were with me and you were like, don't think about it. The new team came in, they did their job. I opened my eyes at one point and there's like 9 or 10 people in the room when there were just 3 beforehand. And I'm like, good, we're close. And so I left my body again. And then I felt her shoulders like a slip and slide, like
Mhm.
shoot out of my body. And I was like, there's the reflex. Like I felt it.
Oh my
Um,
God.
I remember feeling the ring of fire.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Remember that. Trying to forget that. That was a lot. And then Rosie was born, and all of a sudden she's on my chest. And so there's like these snippets of things I can remember. And then most of it is just honestly, like I felt like I was looking down on my body. That's what it felt like. It was just, I was looking down on myself. It's all happening. I'm watching it all happen. And then she was born and it felt safe to come back. So I did. And she was born and she was perfect. And um, I remember she had meconium in the bag. You showed up at the hospital and were like, that's different. That
Mm,
that doesn't look like it should. And you
mm.
alerted the rest of the team to meconium in the bag. So the first photos I have of Rosie, she is smeared with poop. And I have poop smeared across my mouth and face from kissing her.
So good for your microbiome.
Yes, yes. Good for both of us. And so she was born and she was perfect and pink
Mm.
and not even 7 pounds, the tiniest peanut. She went 42 weeks and still wasn't 7 pounds. She needed the extra time, clearly.
She did.
And
She
then
did.
and then it all felt like, oh, this was all supposed to happen.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just remember everything being blissful and fine. And
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
it just was like a really like, whoa, did that just happen? Because now we're past the 20. I think I stayed awake a total of like 38 hours
Yeah.
before I actually slept.
And it really was like because you go to the hospital too, you go there expecting to get some rest and trust that they can put an epidural in correctly. And you just have all these, thoughts. And then it's just like, yeah, it's just so sad that it went that way and that you had to have that experience after. And also not get rest and also get, yeah, I would say you still did it unmedicated, even if you did get this
Yeah,
stuff.
I did.
Because like the fentanyl, it's such a short lasting thing. And yes, absolutely, it can affect babies breathing afterwards and they can have a hard time. When I think back on it, like I feel like I wasn't there for a long time. I felt like I came and action was happening. Like, so I
Ah,
don't feel like you were pushing for very long. Definitely not more than an hour. Like when I think back to it, it's like it felt like we were just kind of in it. It was kind of time to go right
yeah.
then. And so,
I think
yeah.
once you saw the meconium in the waters and discharge, you were pretty quick to be like, hey, we gotta get this ball rolling. Um, I just remember things picking up a lot after that and me being like, I don't understand what's happening. And them like being really worried about my temp all of a sudden. And because I got a fever. So it's
Mm,
like all those little things that came back to me that I'm like, oh, but it was fine. And
mm,
then you have the post birth debrief and the trauma that I didn't expect to hit. And I decided I wasn't just going to be traumatized. I wanted power from my pain.
mm.
So, oh, sorry.
No, it's good.
It felt really unfair. It felt really unfair that a lot of people in the medical field and at that hospital, um, this was just a shift for them.
Yeah.
And they treated me like that. They treated me like I was just a body in a bed. And, we didn't know the gender beforehand. And then I have a girl.
Mm,
And I remember thinking, like, at first, I remember thinking I shouldn't make a big deal of all this because this stuff happens all the time. And then I remember thinking, I just had a daughter. What am I, if I hold on to this trauma and don't do anything about it, what am I teaching her? What am I telling her about her birth story? And I decided it wasn't okay. And I lodged a formal complaint against the hospital. And I got that anesthesiologist fired.
I know. I was so proud.
And
I remember
the
that.
the
Oh,
part that you don't know
uh,
is that I am in a mom's toddler group or whatever with friends, and one of the newer moms worked at that hospital with that anesthesiologist. He had a history of, I believe, sexual assault. He had a history of being abusive towards other staff members and other patients, including people who were higher up than him in the hospital, because he worked for a different anesthesiologist company that the hospital was contracted with. So he was not actually a hospital employee.
Oh my God.
And as such, could also charge much higher insurance rates.
Mm-mm.
So he was literally being paid to abuse people.
Jeez. Emma.
And so when this other mom told me I used to work at that hospital, who was the anesthesiologist, because we were just swapping birth stories, and I mentioned it, and of course I remember his name, and I told her, and she was in shock. She was like, "You don't know the number of people who have tried to get him fired, and the fact that you did that, whew, it just means like he can't abuse other people. He had his license taken away. He cannot work for the hospital." That feels like I put power into my pain.
You
It
really.
feels redemptive. It feels good. So all this to say, like, this might kind of be my sob story, but all this to say to like you, any future clients you have, anybody who listens to or watches this, just because you're in that vulnerable state, just because you may not remember in the moment, just because any of it, you get to call the shots. You're in charge. These people work for you. And if things happen that you don't like or that cross a boundary, you fully have the right to take the reins, even in postpartum, afterwards, and correct that type of behavior. Because maybe in the future, they won't be able to get away with it. If I had saved one other mom in labor who didn't have the resources and the support team that I had, if I saved her from being abused by that anesthesiologist, so be it. I will go through that experience again if it means
Wow.
nobody else has to deal with him.
Oh,
So I do feel like every step of the way was really, really important and really intentional.
you were put in that like situation for a reason, for whatever the universe. I mean, having such a strong client too from the get-go, I'm like, I really don't know how much Emma's really gonna need me, at the end of the day,
I
because
did.
how you were and all these things, but it's also like being in such a vulnerable state and then also being in an even more vulnerable state postpartum and still taking the time to make this complaint. Like I tell everyone, like if something happens, you have to complain because nothing will change. You are the one with power in this situation. Like nobody else in that room can say anything, but you can change the system, but you have to take the time to put in the complaint, because otherwise nothing's going to change. So you change the birth world. I mean, you changed my life as a doula, but also like you changed the birth world with this whole story. Like you changed it for so many more birthing people in the world, and you're such an inspiration. I'm just so proud of you to know you. And wow, I mean, it's like you said, like Rosie's the most perfect little girl, and she's so lucky to have you as her mom. Like to look back and that she gets to hear that strength that you had to go through to bring her forth. And I mean, how can you not be anything but incredibly proud of your mom for doing that? I mean, that's just wow.
I've been giving a lot of thought to legacy these days. And I think that type of thing, that type of behavior, she can't remember any of that happening, but that's part of her birth story, that she came into the world to a mom who was being hurt by other people and her mom made it stop. Feels important. It feels good. It feels important. And it feels like, okay, yeah, this sucked for me, but it's not going to have to suck for other people, at least in that way. Like, I feel like I did what I could. And I won. And they also paid my hospital bill, which was great. They didn't offer. They didn't offer. But when I was like, hey, so you're going to pay this bill for me, right? They were like, yep, no problem. We'll pay it. I think they were so scared I was going to file a suit or something, when it wasn't about that for me. It was about the fact that I don't want people being mistreated.
Mm. Oh, wow.
So yeah, and then postpartum was its own beast. It was hormonal, and Rosie had a tongue tie and a lip tie, and breastfeeding was a whole thing. Lactation consultants make the world go round, is what I've learned.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, my main thing that I wanted to talk to you about was really just my birth story, and just being like, there is power in pain. You have to dig deeper for it. You have to lean into the pain to get there. But boy, is it there. The
Mm.
power's there if you can just hold on, if you can just take hold of it and grasp onto it, the power's there.
Oh, you're so incredible, Emma. So incredible.
Ah, thank you. I love you so much. I feel like I cried so much.
Oh, you are just perfect. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I did
Yeah.
just want, because I do know that you found a support group postpartum and that's been a big
Yes.
part of your life. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about that community and what that has led you to do today.
Yeah. So I joined a postpartum support group at 6 weeks postpartum, because that's when everybody says you don't need help anymore. And that's not true. Postpartum lasts for as long as you are alive after giving birth to children.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Fact. So I joined a postpartum support group at my birth center. And I'm now facilitating
Oh my
that
God.
group. It's wild. It's like silly. I'm like giddy about it. Yeah, the group saved me. What I learned in postpartum is that moms need other moms. And I'm not saying I needed my mom. I did in a sense, but I needed other moms who were doing the same thing as me at the same time as me. My favorite postpartum memory was being in that room with all of the other moms. There were like 12 of us. It was like standing room only in this tiny little support group room. And we're sitting on like folding chairs and floor mattresses and pillows, and almost every single one of us was breastfeeding our baby.
Wow.
And there's this like tangible energy, I think, that vibrates around that type of a setting that was really impactful. And really, it was my moment of like, whoa, I could chase this high forever.
Oh my God.
That's a hell of a glimmer. And I kind of never was able to let go of that glimmer. I think about that moment so often, of finally finding a point in time where I felt peace in motherhood.
Mm.
My baby's breastfeeding. I'm around other moms who are also breastfeeding, and we're all just sitting here eating a snack, pouring our hearts out to each other, laughing and crying and giggling and weeping and angry, and we're resentful, and we're life givers. So many life givers in one room was just incredible. And I was like, yeah, okay, Alison was right. I have to work in the birth world now. And now I do. I'm just volunteering, but yeah,
It all starts somewhere. It all starts
it
somewhere.
all
And
starts somewhere.
like from the moment I met you, I was just like, you're just an inspiration. You're going places. You belong in the birth world. We need more
Oh,
people with that energy and that strength that you just bring to everywhere you go. And I'm so honored to have been your doula, that we
thank
clicked out of
you.
all the doulas in Portland, like that
I
you
know how lucky we are.
so lucky, and I'm just so grateful that you've taken the time, and thank you a million
Of
times
course.
for just doing this with me and taking me back to all of those moments.
Oh, of
And
course. You're gonna be such a good mom. It's
you know I'm gonna lean
incredible.
on you. I'm gonna lean
Absolutely. Day or night. Day or night. You know it.
Oh, well, I'll talk to you soon, Emma.
Okay, I love you so much.
I love you. Bye.
Bye.